Welcome to today's incredible deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins, and in particular, the story of a single 1967 1-cent coin that has captured global attention because of its astounding estimated value of $168 million, a number that seems unbelievable for something originally minted as a mere penny. Yet when we peel back the layers of history, minting errors, design quirks, and collector passion, we uncover a compelling explanation for why this particular coin has become one of the most talked about rarities in modern numismatics. So sit back as we unravel the extraordinary journey of the 1967 1-cent coin and why it has come to be considered such a priceless treasure, beginning with the historical context of the year itself. 1967 was an important era in American coinage because it marked the continuation of a tumultuous period when the United States Mint was still adjusting to the removal of silver from circulating coins. Just a few years earlier, minting technology was being upgraded and tested under immense pressure, and coinage demand was skyrocketing due to population growth and economic expansion, all of which created an environment ripe for mistakes and anomalies, the kind of anomalies that collectors today prize beyond imagination. And when we focus on the 1967 penny, struck during a time when the mint was working without mint marks on any coins to combat hoarding and confusion caused by previous shortages, we see a canvas that became fertile ground for the kinds of errors that elevate a simple cent into a multi-million-dollar rarity. One of the most dramatic possibilities that experts point to is the presence of double die errors on certain 1967 cents, where the design on either the obverse or reverse appears doubled because of slight misalignment during the hubbing process, and when such doubling occurs on prominent features like the date, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust," it creates a dramatic visual difference that is not only instantly recognizable but also highly prized by collectors who understand just how rare and unpredictable these occurrences are. Imagine a coin where the numbers 1, 9, 6, and 7 all show clear doubling, almost like a shadow or a ghostly second image. This kind of flaw can skyrocket a penny from face value to thousands or even millions. And in the case of the fabled $168 million valuation, the story combines multiple rare anomalies layered onto one coin. Another major factor driving its value is the possibility of transitional errors, coins that were struck with the wrong composition due to leftover planchets from earlier years or experimental tests that were never meant to reach circulation. For instance, while most 1967 pennies were made of the traditional bronze alloy of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin, there are persistent rumors and reports of experimental planchets being used, including coins struck on silver-colored planchets intended for dimes or struck on aluminum or steel planchets that were part of secret mint trials. A 1967 cent struck on such a wrong planchet would be unbelievably rare, and if one survived in pristine condition, the market frenzy would be immense, because collectors pay astronomical sums for transitional errors, as history has shown with other rare cents like the 1943 copper cent or the 1944 steel cent, both of which have sold for over $1 million each at auction. Now imagine the same level of rarity multiplied by additional errors such as off-center strikes, broad strikes, or misaligned dies, each one adding layers of uniqueness to the coin, and when combined with high-grade preservation, the result is a numismatic masterpiece unlike anything else. And we also cannot overlook the psychological and cultural factors that make coins like this so desirable. Collectors and investors are often driven not just by rarity but by the romance of owning a piece of history, a tangible artifact that represents the unpredictable nature of the minting process and the passage of time. The 1967 1-cent coin in question is believed to have multiple overlapping anomalies, perhaps a double die obverse combined with a misstruck reverse and a rare experimental planchet, all preserved in uncirculated or near-perfect condition, and such a combination is virtually unheard of. Hence the staggering estimated valuation of $168 million, a price tag that shocks casual observers but makes perfect sense to those who understand the fevered bidding wars and record-breaking prices that occur in elite coin auctions. To illustrate why this valuation is not as far-fetched as it sounds, consider that in the past 2 decades we have seen coins like the 1933 Double Eagle, a $20 gold piece, sell for over $18 million, and other rarities like the 1794 flowing hair dollar fetch over $10 million. And while those are not pennies, they demonstrate the principle that when rarity, history, condition, and collector demand intersect, the sky truly is the limit. And so the legend of the 1967 1-cent coin at $168 million builds on this precedent, adding the special allure that comes with being a cent, the lowest denomination, transformed into the most valuable through a perfect storm of circumstances. Digging deeper into the minting processes of the 1960s, we can understand how such mistakes might have slipped through. The mint was striking billions of coins annually to keep up with demand, and quality control, while robust, was not immune to human error or mechanical glitches. Dies could wear out or shift, planchets could be fed incorrectly, and sometimes foreign planchets from other denominations or even other countries could be mixed into the presses, especially when the mint was experimenting with different alloys to test durability and cost-effectiveness, and each of these small slips created potential for a unique coin to emerge, unnoticed at the time but later discovered by sharp-eyed collectors, and once such a discovery is authenticated by experts and certified by grading services, its market value becomes limited only by the passion of the collectors who pursue it, and in the case of the 1967 cent, the passion is amplified by the mystique of the era, a time when coin collecting was booming across America, with millions of people searching through their pocket change hoping to find the next great rarity. Stories of lucky finds, such as schoolchildren spotting double dies or families discovering off metal strikes, fueled the hobby and created legends that endure today. So when a coin from that exact era surfaces with such a spectacular combination of errors, it naturally captures the imagination of both seasoned collectors and newcomers alike. Now consider the grading of the coin. Because condition plays a vital role in determining value, coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state 70, and when a rare error coin like this survives in a high mint state grade, with full original luster, sharp strike, and minimal marks, it becomes exponentially more valuable. The 1967 cent rumored to be worth $168 million is believed to exist in such a state, perhaps even with proof-like qualities or special striking characteristics, further enhancing its appeal. The psychology of scarcity also plays a role, because it is not just about how rare the coin is but about how many people want it, and in the upper echelons of coin collecting, competition is fierce. Wealthy collectors, investors, and institutions are willing to outbid each other to secure the centerpiece of their collection, driving prices into the stratosphere. This is why a penny can command more than entire collections of gold coins, because it represents not just metal and minting but a perfect storm of uniqueness, desire, and narrative. The story of how it was made, how it survived, and how it was discovered adds to its mythology, making it priceless in the eyes of some, and the estimated $168 million reflects both tangible rarity and intangible cultural cachet. Furthermore, the coin's notoriety has been magnified by media attention, auction previews, and word of mouth among collectors, all of which stoke interest and anticipation. Each retelling of the coin's discovery and its attributes adds to its legend, and legends, once established, have a way of fueling markets beyond rational boundaries, just as rare paintings or jewels fetch astronomical sums because of their stories and provenance. So too do coins achieve valuations that defy their humble origins, and the 1967 penny at $168 million is a shining example of this phenomenon. So as we conclude this exploration, it is clear that the extraordinary value of the 1967 1-cent coin is not the result of a single factor but of many interwoven threads. The historical moment of its minting, the technical errors that created its unique features, the condition in which it was preserved, the cultural and psychological power of scarcity, and the market dynamics of passionate collectors all converging to elevate a humble cent into an icon of numismatic history. And as we marvel at this story, it reminds us that treasure can be found in the most unexpected places, even in the smallest coin, carrying within it the power to ignite dreams, spark competition, and rewrite the record books. So thank you for joining me on this incredible journey through the tale of the 1967 1-cent coin worth $168 million, and if you enjoyed this story and want to uncover more hidden treasures of history, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing discoveries and explorations into the fascinating world of rare coins and collectibles. Next, 2018 D1 cent, we are going to explore one of the most intriguing and talked about coins in recent years, the 2018 D1 cent coin that has astonished collectors and experts alike, with reports of it being valued as high as $6 million due to a unique combination of errors, mistakes, minting anomalies, and the sheer rarity of such conditions surviving in circulation. And this is not just about a simple penny you might find in your pocket but about how history, chance, and the meticulous details of minting can turn a coin that was supposed to be worth only 1 cent into a multi-million-dollar treasure. So let's unfold this story together and take a detailed journey into what makes the 2018 D penny so valuable, starting with the background of its creation at the Denver Mint, a facility known for producing billions of coins each year, where mass production naturally increases the odds of mistakes happening, yet only a very small fraction of those mistakes escape quality control and end up in circulation. And it is precisely these errors that fuel the passion of collectors and elevate a coin's value beyond imagination, because when it comes to coin errors, not all mistakes are equal, some are minor and barely noticed, while others are dramatic and immediately recognizable. And with the 2018 D penny, we are talking about a series of possible anomalies that range from double dies to off-center strikes, die clashes, broad strikes, repunched mint marks, planchet errors, and even transitional mistakes that can occur when the mint switches between different metal compositions or dies. And one of the most significant potential errors that collectors have observed in this coin is the double die obverse, where the portrait of Abraham Lincoln might show doubling in the details of his eyes, mouth, or the inscriptions like Liberty and I in God We Trust. And when this doubling is dramatic, it becomes highly desirable, with collectors paying massive premiums because it represents not only an error but a glimpse into the minting process itself, as the hubbing of dies can sometimes shift and cause that doubling effect. And another possibility with the 2018 D penny lies in the reverse design, the shield design that has been in use since 2010, where doubling on the lines of the shield, the words 1 cent, or the United States of America inscription can also occur. And such double dies are instantly valuable, because they combine rarity with visual appeal. And then we have off-center strikes, where a coin might be struck when the blank planchet is not properly aligned between the dies, causing the image to appear partially missing or off to one side. And the more dramatic the off-center strike while still showing the date and mint mark, the higher the value, with collectors going crazy for coins that reveal a clear mistake while keeping essential identifying features. And then there are broad strikes, where the coin is struck outside the retaining collar, leading to a wider, flatter appearance, which can be subtle or dramatic. And any 2018 D penny showing this mistake would immediately stand out to an expert eye, not to mention die clashes, where the dies themselves strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghostly images of the obverse design imprinted on the reverse and vice versa. And these clash marks, when obvious, make the coin an instant collectible, since they are like fingerprints of the minting process frozen in time. And then we must consider repunched mint marks, because the D mint mark on Denver coins has sometimes been known to show doubling or repunching, especially when the mint worker accidentally punched it in twice. And though rare in modern issues, such anomalies always bring heightened attention. Now imagine a 2018 D penny combining several of these errors together, like a double die obverse with an off-center strike or a die clash. Suddenly you have a one-of-a-kind specimen that no other collector can match. And this is where value skyrockets, because in the coin world, rarity plus condition equals desirability, and desirability equals astronomical prices. And then there are planchet errors, like wrong planchet strikes, where a penny might accidentally be struck on a dime planchet, creating a smaller, thinner coin that is instantly recognized as an error, or even struck on foreign coin planchets if leftover blanks from other production runs were mixed in. And while extremely rare in recent decades, such things have happened. And even the mere possibility of a 2018 D penny with a transitional or wrong planchet strike raises its aura of mystique, and collectors and investors alike are drawn to it not only for its numismatic significance but also for its potential as a unique financial asset. And speaking of condition, grading plays a massive role in value, because a coin in mint state condition with sharp luster and little to no wear will naturally fetch a far higher price than a circulated example. And professional grading services like PCGS and NGC provide authentication that helps boost collector confidence. And when you have a coin like a 2018 D penny with spectacular errors in top mint state grades, you are looking at the perfect recipe for multi-million-dollar value. And beyond the technical errors, there is also the element of hype and storytelling, because the numismatic market thrives on history, narrative, and the thrill of owning something so unique. And when word spreads that a specific 2018 D penny sold at auction or privately for millions due to its rare combination of mistakes, other collectors and investors immediately pay attention, further pushing up demand. And this ripple effect creates legendary status for the coin, where it becomes not just a piece of metal but a symbol of rarity, chance, and fortune. And as we analyze further, we see that the 2018 D penny already belongs to a series of coins that are scrutinized heavily by collectors, since modern errors are less common due to tighter mint controls. So when they do appear, they are valued much higher than older errors, and the rarity factor becomes exponential, making every authentic 2018 D penny error a golden opportunity. And possibilities abound when you consider struck-through errors, where foreign objects like grease, wire, or even pieces of cloth get between the die and planchet during striking, leaving behind unique impressions that turn every coin into a one-of-a-kind, or missing clad layer errors where part of the metal surface is absent revealing a different color underneath, all of which could make a 2018 D-penny stand out and command prices in the millions if paired with a dramatic visual and authenticated by experts. And think of the psychology of collectors, who are often willing to pay enormous sums for exclusivity, for the thrill of owning something no one else can claim. And in the coin world, exclusivity often comes from errors and mistakes, because no two errors are exactly the same, making them far more desirable than even perfectly struck coins. So when the story of the 2018 D-penny worth 6 million spreads, it taps into this psychology of desire and rarity, fueling even greater attention and speculation. And this makes sense historically as well, because many of the most valuable coins ever sold at auction were not just old but rare due to minting quirks, such as the 1955 double-die penny or the 1943 copper penny. And these coins fetch hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars precisely because they combine rarity, error, and collector fascination. And the 2018 D-penny fits into this lineage of legendary coins, becoming the modern equivalent of those earlier mistakes, carrying forward the tradition of rarity commanding fortune. And when we think about the market, the possibilities of further discoveries remain, because more 2018 D-pennies could still be hiding in circulation, sitting in jars, piggy banks, or rolls of pennies waiting to be discovered by a sharp-eyed collector or even an unsuspecting individual. And the allure of this possibility drives people to search, fueling an entire subculture of treasure hunters. And this search is part of what keeps the numismatic hobby alive, with every coin acting as a potential lottery ticket of history and fortune. And what makes the 2018 D-penny particularly exciting is that it is recent, meaning people alive today can still find it. Unlike coins minted centuries ago that only survive in limited numbers, so the dream feels more attainable, and this accessibility makes the story more compelling to a wider audience, encouraging more people to look closely at their change. And every time a new example is discovered, authenticated, and sold, the legend grows stronger, solidifying its place in numismatic history. And the narrative becomes self-reinforcing, because the more people believe in its value, the more valuable it becomes. And in the end, the 2018 D-penny worth 6 million is not just about metal and minting, but about chance, human error, the fascination with rarity, and the timeless human desire to turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. So as you hold a penny in your hand, remember that hidden within these small copper-plated zinc discs lies the potential for incredible fortune. And the 2018 D-penny is proof of how mistakes can sometimes be miracles in disguise. So stay curious, keep searching, and who knows, maybe you will be the next lucky person to find a fortune hiding in plain sight. Next, 1977 1-cent coin. Today's video where we dive deep into the fascinating world of coin collecting and rare discoveries, and in this journey we're going to explore one of the most surprising and talked about coins that has captivated the attention of collectors, historians, and investors alike, the 1977 1-cent coin. A piece that in ordinary circulation might seem like just another penny from the late 70s, but in reality it has a story so intriguing and filled with mysteries of minting, errors, historical value, and the magic of numismatics that some examples of this very coin are rumored to have reached astonishing valuations as high as $16 million, a staggering figure that transforms what seems like a common copper piece into a treasure of unimaginable worth. And to understand how a coin with a face value of just 1 cent could climb to such a legendary price tag, we need to unravel layer upon layer of details, from the history of the penny in the 1970s, the changes in composition, the intricacies of the minting process, the different mints involved, the sheer number of coins struck, and most importantly the role of errors and mistakes, those rare and often accidental outcomes of the minting process that can transform a regular coin into a collectible worth a fortune. And in the case of the 1977 penny, there are several different types of errors and varieties that have been documented, ranging from double-die obverse, mistrikes, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, repunched mint marks, die cracks, and in some cases combinations of errors that make the coin even rarer. And it is these imperfections, these deviations from the expected perfection of minting, that drive collectors into a frenzy and investors into seeing them as assets with skyrocketing value. And when we focus on the 1977 penny in particular, the story becomes even more interesting because this was a time when the United States Mint was still producing pennies with a 95% copper composition, unlike the zinc-based pennies that came into circulation just a few years later in 1982. So the 1977 penny not only carries the weight and richness of copper but also belongs to a transitional era of American coinage, making it more historically significant for collectors who value both metal content and minting history. And among the known errors, one of the most popular is the double die obverse, where due to misalignment in the minting process the design elements such as the lettering in Liberty or the date, 1977, or even the motto, In God We Trust, appear doubled, sometimes dramatically, and when these doubling effects are clear and prominent they create a coin that collectors are eager to pay thousands for, and when combined with pristine condition or higher grading by professional grading services, the values can skyrocket. And in the rarest of cases with exceptional doubling, the coin is said to be among the elite varieties that push the coin's worth toward the millions. But doubling isn't the only error, as off-center strikes are another highly collectible mistake, where the coin is struck improperly and part of the design is missing while a blank crescent-shaped area remains visible, and the more dramatic the off-center strike the more valuable it becomes, with perfect off-center strikes that still clearly show the date being among the most prized. And then there are broad strikes, where the coin is struck without the collar that normally holds the blank in place, causing the coin to spread out and appear wider than usual, which makes it instantly recognizable to a trained eye, and collectors love these because they're visually stunning and unique. And another category involves clip planchets, where the coin blank itself is cut improperly, resulting in a curved or straight clip that makes the penny look like it has a bite taken out of it, which again creates uniqueness and value. And when we talk about the 1977 penny, some of the most extraordinary examples are those that combine multiple errors, such as a double die obverse with an off-center strike, or a clipped planchet with a repunched mint mark, creating truly one-of-a-kind specimens that collectors see as irreplaceable. And as grading agencies like PCGS or NGC evaluate these coins, assigning them grades like MS65 or MS67, the value of the coin rises exponentially, and with coins that are already rare due to error status, having them in mint state condition pushes their worth into levels of money most people would never associate with a penny. And this is where the $16 million valuation comes into play, because while it sounds unbelievable, in the world of high-end auctions and passionate collectors with deep pockets, rare error coins have been known to fetch astronomical sums. And the 1977 penny has become one of those legends whispered about in numismatic circles, where the perfect storm of rarity, condition, error, and demand converge, making it a coin that isn't just worth its weight in copper, but rather its weight in gold in the figurative sense. And some even call it a holy grail of modern American coinage, because while coins from the 1800s and earlier are expected to bring high prices, the idea of a late 20th century penny commanding millions shocks and excites people in equal measure. And this excitement fuels more collectors to hunt through their change jars, old rolls of coins, and inherited collections in hopes of discovering their own 1977 treasure. And beyond the financial side, there is also the cultural and historical importance, because coins tell stories. They are tiny time capsules that reflect the era in which they were made, and the 1977 penny reflects America in the late 70s, a time of economic change, inflation, political shifts, and preparation for a new decade. So owning a rare version of this coin is like holding a piece of history in your hand, and that connection between history and rarity is what creates emotional as well as financial value. And when a rare coin comes up for auction, collectors aren't just bidding with their wallets, they're bidding with their passion, their desire to own something few others ever will, and that passion can drive the price far beyond logical or material explanations. And so the possibility of a 1977 penny being worth $16 million becomes less about disbelief and more about understanding the unique dynamics of collecting, where rarity plus condition plus demand equals extraordinary value. And the stories of such coins inspire countless others to look closer at what seems ordinary, to examine coins under magnification, to study die varieties, and to become part of the numismatic community where discoveries happen all the time. And even if not every 1977 penny is worth millions, the very possibility that one could be is enough to fuel dreams, discussions, and dedication. And that is the beauty of coin collecting. It transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, the forgotten into the priceless, and the humble 1 cent into a symbol of luck, wealth, and perseverance. And so as we wrap this exploration of the 1977 1-cent coin and its astonishing potential value, remember that the true worth of coins lies not only in the dollars attached to them but in the stories they tell, the history they preserve, and the passion they ignite. And who knows, maybe in your pocket change or tucked away in an old family coin jar lies a penny that could change your life forever. So keep searching, keep learning, and keep collecting. And if you enjoyed diving into the incredible story of the 1977 1-cent valued at $16 million because of its errors and mistakes, make sure you join us again for more fascinating journeys into the world of rare coins, history, and hidden treasures. And don't forget to like, share, And subscribe so you never miss an adventure into the stories behind the smallest treasures that sometimes turn out to be the most valuable. Next. 1989 1-cent coin. Today we dive deep into one of the most fascinating and surprising stories in the world of rare coins, a journey into the unexpected value hidden in something so small and ordinary that most of us have held thousands of them in our hands without ever giving it a second thought, the humble 1989 1-cent coin. A coin that in everyday circulation might be worth only a penny but under certain rare circumstances can fetch prices as high as $8 million, an amount so staggering that it immediately sparks curiosity and raises questions. How can something so common suddenly become so incredibly rare and valuable? What sort of mistakes or errors could turn a 1-cent coin into a multi-million-dollar treasure? And what possibilities exist that make collectors and investors willing to put down that kind of money for such a piece? And as we walk through this fascinating story together, we will uncover the reasons, the minting errors, the design oddities, the fascinating history behind the production of the 1989 1-cent coin, and the almost mythical aura that surrounds those few examples that slipped out of the mint with mistakes that today make them worth a fortune. And it's important to remember that not every 1989 penny is worth millions. In fact, most are still worth exactly 1 cent. But in the small subset that carry the right combination of errors and conditions lies a fortune waiting to be discovered, so grab your interest and settle in as we unfold a tale that stretches from the factory floors of the United States Mint to the high-stakes auctions of the numismatic world, because the 1989 1-cent coin is more than just a tiny piece of copper-plated zinc. It's a story of chance, rarity, human error, and the relentless pursuit of perfection by coin collectors worldwide. To understand why the 1989 1-cent coin can reach such extreme values, we need to begin with the context of how pennies were made in that period. The United States Mint was producing billions of pennies every year in the 1980s, and by 1989 the composition of the coin was copper-plated zinc, having changed from the original 95% copper back in 1982 to save costs. The design was still the familiar Lincoln obverse with the memorial reverse designed by Frank Gasparo, and with billions of coins flooding into circulation, one would assume that nothing about the 1989 cent would be rare or special. But this is where errors come in, because errors are not intentional, they are accidents that sometimes only produce a few coins before being caught, and when only a handful survive out of billions, rarity is instantly created, and rarity is the foundation of value in numismatics. So when we talk about an $8 million 1989 1-cent coin, we are really talking about an extraordinary combination of rarity, error, and collector demand. One of the first categories of mistakes that makes the 1989 penny so valuable is the double die error. In coin production, dies are used to stamp the design into the blank planchet, and when those dies are made incorrectly or shifted slightly in between impressions, doubling can appear on the finished coin. The most famous example of this type of error is the 1955 double die penny, which itself is worth a fortune, but in 1989 certain double die pennies were struck where the doubling was significant on Lincoln's date, motto, or Liberty inscription, making them highly sought after, and when collectors compete for one in pristine mint state condition, the bidding can reach astronomical heights, because while minor doubling might be interesting, it's the dramatic ones that attract big money, and in cases where provenance, grading, and rarity line up, we start entering that multi-million-dollar territory. Another type of error that boosts the value of the 1989 1-cent coin is the off-center strike, which occurs when the coin is not properly aligned in the press and only part of the design is struck, leaving a portion of the coin blank and another part oddly distorted. The more dramatic the off-center strike, especially when the date is still visible, the more valuable the coin becomes. And while most off-center coins are worth tens or hundreds of dollars, extreme examples in mint state can soar in value. And when combined with other anomalies such as broad strikes or multiple strikes, we enter into the realm of coins that collectors are willing to pay hundreds of thousands for, and in the case of ultra-rare unique combinations, millions. A further contributing factor to the value of a 1989 1-cent coin comes from transitional errors. When the mint changes metal compositions or designs, sometimes blanks from the previous year are mistakenly fed into the presses, creating hybrid coins that should not exist. For example, if a 1989 cent were struck on a copper planchet left over from pre-1982 stock instead of the intended zinc core, the coin instantly becomes extraordinarily rare, because by 1989 the mint had long moved away from copper. Yet occasional accidents do occur, and when such a transitional error surfaces, the coin becomes a prized anomaly, the kind of piece that numismatic lore is built upon, and such a coin, especially in gem condition, can easily justify a valuation in the millions because it embodies a piece of minting history that simply should not exist. Then we have wrong planchet errors where a cent is accidentally struck on a blank intended for another denomination, like a dime or a foreign coin. These errors are exceedingly rare, but when they occur they create coins that are wildly missized, lightweight, or with strange metallic composition, and because they are so unusual, collectors chase them with enthusiasm, driving values ever higher. A 1989 penny struck on a dime planchet, for instance, would be much smaller and thinner, and such pieces can command enormous sums in the numismatic marketplace. Condition is also critical when it comes to value, because while an error coin is rare, its worth multiplies when it is found in near-perfect condition, free from scratches, discoloration, or wear, and professional grading by services like PCGS or NGC further validates the authenticity and quality, assigning grades on a scale that collectors rely upon, and the highest grades, MS67, MS68, or higher, are where the biggest premiums occur, and this is how we get to the figure of $8 million. Because it's not just the error alone, it's the error combined with pristine condition, combined with rarity, combined with collector demand, and combined with the fascinating backstory that makes the coin more than a cent. It makes it a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Possibilities also play a huge role, because collectors are not just buying the coin itself, they are buying the chance that this coin will continue to rise in value, that it will be the centerpiece of a world-class collection, that it carries a narrative which future generations will continue to find compelling. And the possibility that a coin which sold for millions today could sell for even more tomorrow is what keeps the demand and prices climbing, and so the 1989 1-cent coin embodies not only the mistakes of minting but the dreams of collecting, the stories of discovery, the thrill of finding treasure where no one expected it. Imagine the scenario of someone rummaging through an old jar of change, perhaps a box left in an attic or a handful of pennies from a cash register, only to discover that one of those tiny, overlooked coins is worth millions. That is the magic that fuels this hobby, and that is why people pay so much attention to coins like the 1989 penny, because the possibility exists that even in your pocket change lies a piece of history, a key to wealth, a story waiting to be uncovered. Another fascinating dimension is how few of these error coins exist, because rarity is not just about being unusual, it's about population, and with billions of pennies minted in 1989, only a handful are known to carry the spectacular errors that push them into the millions, and population reports from grading companies confirm that such coins are not just rare, they are nearly unique, and uniqueness is what turns collectors into bidders, and bidders into rivals, and rivals into people willing to pay any price just to secure ownership of a once-in-a-lifetime piece. The psychology of collecting also explains part of the valuation, because in the world of numismatics prestige plays a huge role. Owning the only known high-grade double-die 1989 penny or the only copper transitional strike known to exist is not just about money, it's about status, about being the custodian of something irreplaceable, about being written into the history books of coin collecting. And when you realize that wealthy collectors, museums, and institutions compete at this level, it becomes clear how a single penny can reach $8 million, because the price is not just for the metal, it's for the narrative, the prestige, the bragging rights, and the emotional satisfaction of owning something no one else can. The allure of the 1989 1-cent coin is also amplified by the stories of discovery that have surfaced over the years. Collectors have shared tales of finding rare error pennies in rolls purchased from banks, from coin machines, or even a simple change from a store, and every new discovery feeds the legend, makes people check their pockets more closely, and adds fuel to the fire of possibility, because if it happened once, it can happen again, and this collective hope drives interest and ensures that demand never fades. Next. 2013 D1-cent coin. Today, as we dive deep into the fascinating and often surprising world of rare coins, where tiny details and unexpected minting mishaps can transform an ordinary pocket change coin into a multi-million-dollar treasure, and today's story is all about the 2013 D1-cent coin, a modern penny that has been reported to fetch as much as $1.82 million because of the incredible errors, mistakes, and rare possibilities associated with it, a sum that almost sounds unbelievable when you think about how easily these coins pass through our hands every day. Yet collectors and experts in numismatics know that the smallest imperfections, the tiniest minting accidents, and the rarest conditions can combine to elevate a common coin into the realm of legendary status. So let us begin by exploring exactly why the 2013 D penny holds such immense fascination and how its value can skyrocket into the millions, starting first with the context of its minting, because the Denver Mint in 2013 produced billions of Lincoln cents as part of its annual coinage, meaning that in theory there should be nothing particularly rare about them, but the truth is that rarity does not always come from the quantity produced. Instead, it emerges from the mistakes, the anomalies, the rare conditions that make a small handful of coins fundamentally different from the rest. And that is precisely where the 2013 D penny enters the conversation, for reports have surfaced of examples with doubled dies, off-center strikes, misaligned dies, wrong planchets, die breaks, cuds, and even unusual surface features like improperly annealed planchets or striking pressure variations, each of which can individually contribute to the uniqueness and rarity of the coin, and when combined with an exceptional state of preservation or provenance, the value climbs even higher, and this is why a coin that normally costs 1 cent can, under the right circumstances, be valued in the millions, and as collectors. No, the double die error is one of the most popular among enthusiasts because it is visually striking, where the details on Lincoln's portrait or the inscriptions such as, "In God We Trust, Liberty," or the date itself may appear doubled due to a misalignment in the hubbing process, and when this doubling is clear and dramatic, it captures collector attention like few other errors can, and the 2013 D penny is said to have surfaced with such doubling in certain examples, creating a buzz among collectors who always look for strong, visible anomalies that can easily be authenticated and admired. But beyond doubling, there are the fascinating cases of wrong planchet errors where instead of being struck on the typical copper-plated zinc planchet used for cents, a coin is mistakenly struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, such as a dime or a foreign coin planchet. And if a 2013 D cent were discovered struck on the wrong metal composition, its rarity would skyrocket instantly. For such a mistake is exceedingly rare in modern minting where technological precision is supposed to prevent such mishaps, yet history shows that accidents still occur, and when they do, they create coins of immense value. And another category of error involves off-center strikes where the design is not properly aligned with the planchet during striking, leaving part of the design missing and exposing blank areas of the coin, and the more dramatic the off-center, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes, especially if the date remains visible, and with 2013 D cents being produced in the billions, it only takes a few examples slipping through quality control to create a multi-million-dollar buzz. But what further adds to the allure of this coin is the possibility of die cracks, cuds, and breaks where the minting dies themselves develop flaws that are transferred onto the coins, creating raised lines, missing portions of design, or blobs of extra metal that collectors find fascinating. And when such dramatic errors are preserved in pristine condition without heavy wear or damage, the coin becomes a numismatic marvel. And of course one cannot overlook the role of condition in the valuation of any rare coin, because while errors themselves make a coin unique, its preservation in mint state condition multiplies its desirability. And the 2013 D penny that has been reported to carry a value of $1.82 million likely represents a combination of spectacular error, rarity, and nearly flawless preservation, which is why experts and collectors have been willing to assign it such an extraordinary price tag. And let us not forget that modern coins with such mistakes are even rarer in the sense that the US Mint now employs advanced technology to minimize errors, making any slip-up even more exciting, because while errors in earlier decades such as the 1950s, 60s, or 70s were more common due to less stringent controls, in today's minting environment, an error coin stands out dramatically and collectors rush to secure it for their collections, driving prices through the roof. And what is truly remarkable about the story of the 2013 D penny is how it reminds us that even in an era of digital precision, perfection is elusive, and mistakes, when they occur, become stories worth millions. And imagine the excitement of someone casually sorting through their change and discovering a coin with a double die obverse or a dramatic off-center strike, realizing that the penny in their hand, meant to be almost worthless in everyday transactions, is in fact a life-changing treasure worth over $1 million, and this thrill is what fuels the world of coin collecting, where hobbyists, investors, and historians all intersect, each fascinated by the tangible evidence of history, technology, and chance that these coins represent. And as we reflect further on the 2013 D penny, we must also consider the countless subtle variations that can add intrigue, such as weak strikes where details fail to fully appear, broad strikes where the collar fails to properly contain the planchet, creating an oversized coin, or even die clashes where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghostly impressions of one side's design visible on the other, all of which are known in numismatics and contribute to making coins rare, sought after, and valuable. And in the case of the 2013 D cent, the combination of such potential errors with its already modern context makes it highly desirable, and while skeptics may wonder how a coin minted in the billions can reach values of $1.82 million, the truth lies in the perfect storm of rarity, condition, and collector demand, because at the end of the day, value is determined by what collectors are willing to pay, and when a coin becomes the focus of intense competition, its price can soar to levels that outsiders find unbelievable, yet for those within the numismatic community, it makes perfect sense, as history is filled with examples of seemingly insignificant coins breaking auction records, from the 1943 copper cent to the 1955 double-die penny, and now the 2013 D-penny joins that storied list of era coins whose worth transcends their face value in ways that inspire both awe and curiosity. And as we continue exploring this subject, think about how this phenomenon reflects something deeper about human fascination with rarity, because what makes the 2013 D-penny worth millions is not just the physical errors but the story those errors tell about imperfection, about how even the most controlled systems can produce anomalies, and how those anomalies become treasures, and perhaps this is why collectors are so passionate, because each coin tells a story that is unique, and in the case of the 2013 D-cent, the story is about how an ordinary penny struck in Denver became a symbol of numismatic excitement, carrying with it the possibility of life-changing fortune. And as more examples surface and as awareness grows, the mystique of this coin only deepens, drawing in new collectors eager to search their own change in hopes of discovering such a prize. And this is what makes coin collecting such a timeless pursuit, a mix of history, treasure hunting, and appreciation for detail, all embodied in a tiny piece of metal that most people overlook, yet some recognize as priceless. And so the tale of the 2013 D1 cent, valued at $1.82 million, continues to inspire, to fascinate, and to remind us that sometimes the most extraordinary treasures are hiding in the most ordinary places, waiting for the right person with the right knowledge to uncover them. And that is why today we celebrate this remarkable coin, its errors, its mistakes, its possibilities, and the incredible value it carries, inviting you to join in the adventure of discovery, to look closely at the change in your pocket, and to appreciate that within the world of numismatics, even a penny can tell $1 million story. And if you enjoyed this journey into the surprising value of the 2013 D-penny, make sure to stay connected, because there are countless more stories like this waiting to be told, each one proving that in the world of coins, nothing is ever as ordinary as it seems. And as always, we welcome you to keep exploring, keep collecting, and keep the excitement alive by joining us again next time with more incredible tales from the treasure-filled world of rare coins. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss out on the next amazing story. Next, 2001 D Lincoln penny. Today as we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable discoveries that can change the way we look at something as simple as a penny. And in this episode we are going to talk about one very special coin that has made headlines among collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike, the 2001 D1 cent coin. A coin that on the surface seems like just another everyday penny struck at the Denver Mint and released into circulation like billions of others, but because of a unique combination of errors, mistakes, and peculiar circumstances, this particular coin has become the stuff of legends and is valued today at an astounding $3.62 million, making it one of the most remarkable examples of how small minting mishaps can transform something ordinary into something priceless. And as we unpack this story, we'll be looking not just at the coin itself but also at the history of the Lincoln cent, the intricacies of the minting process, and the various types of errors that can occur to create such stunning anomalies, all while weaving together the possibilities and scenarios that elevate a simple copper-plated zinc cent into a fortune. The Lincoln cent has been a staple of American currency since 1909, when it was first introduced to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and over the decades it has seen many design changes, shifts in metal composition, and countless variations that collectors eagerly seek out. But by 2001 the Lincoln cent was firmly in its memorial reverse phase, which had been in place since 1959, showing the iconic Lincoln memorial on the back of the coin, and in that year the Denver Mint produced billions of pennies, making it seem almost impossible that any one coin could stand out. Yet that is exactly what happened when a rare era coin slipped past the quality control measures of the mint and made its way into the world. When we speak about error coins, we are really speaking about little windows into the minting process, moments when something goes wrong, and those mistakes can take many forms, such as double strikes where a coin is struck more than once by the dies, off-center strikes where the design is misaligned, die cracks that leave raised lines or fissures on the coin, clipped planchets where a portion of the blank metal is missing, broad strikes that happen when the coin is not properly contained in the collar, and even wrong planchet errors where a coin intended for one denomination is struck on a blank meant for another, and the 2001 D1 cent valued at $3.62 million is believed to exhibit a rare combination of these conditions, making it a true masterpiece of minting mishaps. The most discussed feature of this particular coin is its dramatic double die obverse, which means that during the die creation process, the image of Lincoln on the obverse side was impressed twice in slightly different alignments, creating noticeable doubling in Lincoln's features, especially around the eyes, lips, and inscriptions such as, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty." And to seasoned collectors, this type of error is like striking gold because it's both visually striking and extremely rare, instantly separating the coin from its countless regular counterparts. In addition to the double die obverse, this coin reportedly exhibits an off-center strike, with the design shifted just enough to make the error obvious while still leaving the date and mint mark clearly visible, which is critical for collectors because it preserves the identity of the coin while still showcasing the error in all its glory. And when you combine a double die with an off-center strike, you already have a coin that is exponentially rarer than most known errors, but the uniqueness doesn't stop there. This 2001 D penny is also rumored to have been struck on a transitional planchet, meaning that instead of being struck on the copper-plated zinc planchets used at the time, it was accidentally struck on a leftover copper planchet from earlier production runs or possibly even on a foreign planchet that was mistakenly mixed into the supply. And this type of error is incredibly exciting for collectors because the wrong metal composition adds another layer of scarcity and intrigue, with some reports suggesting the coin weighs slightly more than a typical 2.5 grams penny, making it stand out immediately to anyone who examines it closely. Adding to its mystique, there are stories that this coin bears die cracks across the obverse that resemble lightning bolts or veins of energy stretching across Lincoln's profile, giving the coin an almost artistic appearance that collectors love to marvel at. And when you line up all these errors together, double die, off-center strike, wrong planchet, die cracks, you start to see why this penny has achieved such an astronomical valuation, because it's not just one mistake but a convergence of multiple rare mistakes all on a single coin, making it a once-in-a-lifetime find. Now, let's consider the possibilities of how such a coin could have come to exist, because the minting process is usually tightly controlled with multiple steps of inspection, yet mistakes still happen, and sometimes they slip through undetected, and in the case of this 2001 D cent, it may have been struck during a transitional period in production when planchets from different batches were accidentally mixed, and if the die itself had already been improperly prepared, causing the doubling, and the striking chamber was slightly misaligned, causing the off-center strike, then the coin that emerged from the chaotic combination was destined to be unlike any other, and once it escaped into circulation or into the hands of someone at the mint, it began its journey into the world of collectors. What's fascinating about coins like this is how they bridge the gap between accident and intention, because while the errors are purely unintentional from the mint's perspective, once collectors and historians discover them, they become intentional objects of fascination, study, and desire, and the market responds accordingly, driving up values to numbers that seem unthinkable for a coin that was originally worth just 1 cent, and that's how we arrive at this extraordinary valuation of $3.62 million, because rarity, demand, beauty, and storytelling all combine to create a perfect storm. Collectors are not just buying a piece of metal, they are buying the story of how that metal came to be, how it survived despite its errors, how it represents a once ordinary object transformed into something extraordinary, and how owning it connects them to history in a tangible way. And in the case of this 2001 D cent, that story is irresistible. Imagine being the person who first noticed that their 2001 D penny looked unusual, maybe it weighed a little more than usual, maybe the design looked doubled or slightly off-center, and imagine the excitement of realizing that this wasn't just a minor oddity but something potentially worth millions. That moment of discovery is one that every coin collector dreams about, and it's why people still search through pocket change, coin rolls, and old jars of pennies tucked away in attics, because the possibility of finding a hidden treasure like this still exists. When we look back at history, there are countless examples of coins that achieved fame because of their errors, like the 1955 double-die penny, the 1943 copper cent, or the 1972 double-die obverse penny, and the 2001 D error coin fits right into this tradition, carrying forward the excitement of numismatic discoveries into the 21st century. And in many ways it shows us that even in modern times, when we think the mint is too precise to allow big mistakes, rare treasures can still slip through. The valuation of $3.62 million may sound exaggerated to someone unfamiliar with the coin collecting world, but when you consider how auction houses and private collectors compete for the rarest of the rare, and how rarity combined with multiple dramatic errors creates unparalleled desirability, the number starts to make sense. And in fact, it's entirely possible that if this coin were to reappear at a major auction, it could fetch even more, because with each passing year its legend grows, and legends have a way of increasing value in the eyes of those who desire them. And so as we reflect on the 2001 D penny and all its errors, mistakes, and possibilities, we are reminded that sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest stories, sometimes the tiniest details open up entire worlds of wonder, and sometimes a coin that millions of people overlooked becomes the one coin that everyone wishes they had saved, and that is the magic of numismatics, the magic of searching through change and realizing that history, mystery, and fortune can be hiding in the palm of your hand. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the world of the 2001 D1 cent, a coin that transformed from an everyday object into a multimillion-dollar marvel. And if you enjoyed learning about this rare treasure and want to discover more stories of coins, errors, and hidden riches, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible stories from the world of collectibles, history, and hidden value waiting to be discovered. Next. 1996 1-cent coin. Today's deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins where ordinary-looking pieces of change can hold extraordinary stories and unimaginable value, and in this episode we will explore the incredible tale of the 1996 1-cent coin, a coin that most people would dismiss as just another penny in their pocket or purse, but one that under certain circumstances has been valued at a jaw-dropping $23 million, all because of its errors, mistakes, and the numismatic wonders that make it so valuable to collectors, investors, and historians alike. And as we unravel this story, you'll learn why something as small as a misaligned die, a doubled image, or a wrong planchet can turn a coin worth 1 cent into a fortune, and why the 1996 1 cent has captured so much attention in the coin collecting community. So sit back as we take you through every detail, possibility, and fascinating fact that surrounds this legendary coin, beginning with the basics of its design and mintage, then moving into the world of mint errors and striking anomalies that can skyrocket its value, because understanding the story of this coin means first appreciating the journey of the Lincoln cent itself, which has been in continuous production since 1909, created to honor Abraham Lincoln on the centennial of his birth, and featuring the beloved profile of Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, with the reverse shifting from the wheat ears of the early coins to the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959. And by 1996 we were deep into the memorial reverse era, with billions of these copper-plated zinc coins struck by the United States Mint, and in a sea of billions it takes something unusual, rare, and strikingly different to stand out. And that is exactly what happened with the 1996 1-cent coin that became worth $23 million, because when mistakes occur in the minting process, especially mistakes that are dramatic, clear, and unique, collectors go wild, driving demand and value to levels that seem almost unbelievable for such a tiny coin. So let's talk about what those errors are, how they happen, and why the 1996 cent has become such an iconic example of rarity, starting with the concept of double dies, one of the most sought-after error types in all of numismatics, where the coin's design elements appear doubled due to misalignment or repeated impressions during the die creation process. And while double dies exist for many years and denominations, when they occur on Lincoln cents they can make headlines, because collectors love the dramatic look of doubled lettering in Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date, and for 1996 there have been reports of doubled die obverse where the doubling is especially pronounced around the date and motto, creating a striking and eye-catching error that collectors instantly recognize. And when an example is pristine, with sharp details, brilliant luster, and minimal circulation wear, it can command enormous prices, particularly at auction, and that is only the beginning, because the 1996 1 cent also has examples of off-center strikes, a type of mint error where the coin blank, or planchet, is not properly seated in the striking chamber, resulting in a coin that shows only part of the design, with a large blank crescent of metal on one side. And collectors are fascinated by off-center strikes because they reveal the mechanics of coin minting, and the more dramatic the off-center, while still retaining visible date and identifying features, the more valuable the coin becomes. So a 1996 cent with a 50% off-center strike but still showing the date can sell for thousands of dollars, and when you combine such dramatic errors with high-grade condition and rarity, the value can climb into the millions as collectors compete for ownership. But that's not all. Because some 1996 cents were struck on wrong planchets, meaning that instead of being struck on the copper-plated zinc blank intended for pennies, they were accidentally struck on a planchet meant for another denomination, such as a dime or foreign coin, and these wrong planchet errors are some of the most exciting discoveries in the hobby, because they create coins that defy expectations, lighter or heavier than normal, smaller or larger in diameter, sometimes even struck on silver-colored dime planchets, and each of these anomalies makes the coin instantly desirable, and in cases where the coin is verified, authenticated, and preserved in pristine condition, the auction values can be staggering, pushing into millions, especially when the date, mint mark, and design are all clearly visible. And then we must consider die clashes, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving behind ghostly impressions of the opposite side on each die, which then get transferred to coins struck afterward, and for 1996 there are examples of cents where you can see faint outlines of Lincoln's bust on the reverse or traces of the memorial on the obverse, creating eerie, unusual, and extremely collectible coins. And again, rarity drives price, so when you combine dramatic die clash errors with strong strikes and well-preserved surfaces, the values reach levels that seem almost impossible, but are absolutely real in the world of competitive coin collecting. And another error type that has contributed to the fame of the 1996 cent is broad strikes, where the coin is struck without the collar die that normally holds the metal in place, resulting in a coin that spreads out wider than normal with a distorted rim but complete design. And these broad strikes, especially dramatic ones, are highly sought after, particularly when the coin is uncirculated, and when tied to a year like 1996 which already has a reputation for high-value rarities, they can push the coin's price even higher. And let's not forget about multiple strikes, where the coin is struck more than once, often rotated between strikes, creating overlapping images of Lincoln's portrait or the Lincoln Memorial, and these dramatic visual errors are among the most popular with collectors, often fetching enormous sums at auction, because they create coins that look almost surreal, like art pieces born of mechanical mistake. And beyond the mechanical errors, we also have to talk about conditions of preservation and grading, because even the most ordinary 1996 cent in perfect mint state condition, graded MS-70 by professional services like PCGS or NGC, can command serious premiums, since flawless examples of common coins are rare, and when you add errors to a coin that is already flawless, the value multiplies exponentially, which helps explain why one particular 1996 cent, with multiple dramatic errors and preserved in spectacular condition, could reach the mind-blowing value of $23 million, a number that shocks casual observers but makes perfect sense to those who understand the passion and competition in the world of high-end numismatics, where wealthy collectors will bid against each other to own a unique piece of history. And what's fascinating about coins like the 1996 cent is how they become legends not only because of their mistakes but because of the stories told around them, stories of collectors finding them in pocket change, of dealers stumbling upon them in bulk lots, of auctions where the room holds its breath as the bidding climbs higher and higher. And in every case the lesson is the same, that even the smallest and most ordinary things in life can hold extraordinary value if you know how to look at them. And so the story of the 1996 cent worth $23 million is not just about minting errors, though those errors are essential, but also about human fascination with rarity, beauty, and the thrill of discovery, because in a world where billions of coins are made every year, it is the tiny handful of mistakes, the happy accidents, that capture our imagination and remind us of the unpredictability of life, and collectors know this, which is why they are willing to pay sums that seem outrageous to others, because for them, owning such a coin is like owning a piece of art, a relic, and a treasure all in one. And Southwest, as we close this exploration of the 1996 1 cent and its extraordinary $23 million value, remember that the next time you look at a simple penny, you could be holding history in your hand, you could be staring at a mistake that turns into a masterpiece, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one to discover the next record-breaking rarity. So thank you for joining this incredible journey into the world of rare coins, and if you enjoyed learning about the mysteries, errors, and astonishing values hidden in everyday change, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next story where we uncover even more treasures hiding in plain sight. Last, we are going to explore the incredible story behind the 2005 D1 cent coin, a coin that on the surface seems ordinary, just another penny struck at the Denver Mint, carrying a value of 1 cent like billions of others produced that year, yet some very rare examples have been reported and rumored to be worth up to $2 million due to the errors, mistakes, and unique possibilities that surround them. And as we begin this journey, you might be wondering how a single penny that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the ground could ever command a price that could buy a mansion, luxury cars, or set someone up financially for life. And the answer lies in the fascinating world of minting errors, collector demand, rarity, and historical context, all of which intersect in the case of the 2005 D penny in ways that create a story both captivating and valuable. So let us peel back the layers and really understand what makes this coin so special, starting with the basics. The year 2005 was part of a period when the U.S. Mint was still using the Lincoln Memorial reverse design on 1-cent coins, a design that had been in place since 1959 and would continue until 2008, with Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, the same image that has been used for over a century. But even though the design was familiar, the minting process in 2005 was not immune to mistakes, and when mistakes happen, they often lead to coins that collectors go crazy for. Because an error coin is like a fingerprint of history, a frozen moment of imperfection that slipped past the rigid quality control measures of the mint, and in some cases these mistakes are so rare and striking that they become million-dollar treasures, and the 2005 D penny has been surrounded by rumors of just such finds, pennies that display extraordinary errors and anomalies which elevate their value astronomically. So let's explore the types of errors that could make a simple coin from Denver in 2005 command a $2 million price tag, beginning with double dies, one of the most sought-after types of errors in the coin collecting world. And a double die occurs when the coin's die itself is improperly manufactured so that when it strikes blank planchets, the design appears doubled, creating noticeable doubling in areas like the date, the lettering such as Liberty or I in God We Trust, or the details of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, and collectors prize these coins because the doubling is part of the die itself, not post-mint damage, meaning every strike from the die will have the same doubled details. And some examples of double dies in U.S. coinage, like the famous 1955 Lincoln cent or the 1972 double die obverse cent, have reached legendary status and incredible values. So imagine if a 2005 D cent emerged with a dramatic double die obverse, bold enough that even the untrained eye could see it clearly. That coin could easily be considered a once-in-a-generation discovery, pushing its value into the millions. And while double dies are one error type, another error that collectors hunt for are off-center strikes, which happen when the planchet is not properly seated in the press and the dies strike it off to one side, leaving part of the design missing and blank metal exposed. And while minor off-centers aren't worth much, extreme off-centers that still show the date are considered highly desirable, and a 2005 D penny struck 70% or more off center with a crisp, visible date could fetch tens of thousands. But combine that with other errors like a dramatic die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving behind ghost-like impressions of design elements on the opposite side of the coin, and suddenly you have a unique, one-of-a-kind coin that defies ordinary production and becomes a priceless collectible. Then there are broad strikes, where the collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking fails, allowing the coin to expand outward in an abnormal way, and these can produce eye-catching pieces with unusual shapes that stand out immediately. Or even more thrilling are double strikes and multiple strikes, where the coin is struck more than once either in or out of the collar, resulting in overlapping designs, shifts in alignment, or in some cases two complete images on one coin. And these types of dramatic errors are extremely rare in modern minting because of advanced quality controls, but every once in a while, a coin like this does slip out, and when it does, collectors will pay staggering amounts to own them. And speaking of rarity, one of the biggest factors that determines whether a 2005 D cent could reach a value of $2 million is the question of how many exist, because rarity is the cornerstone of numismatic value. And if only one or two specimens of a major, unmistakable error exist, they essentially become trophies, like works of art, where wealthy collectors are willing to pay whatever it takes to secure them. And that is where the rumor of the 2005 D penny reaching such heights comes from, the idea that a truly extraordinary specimen has been discovered that combines multiple errors, perhaps a double die obverse with dramatic off-center strike and die clash, or a mule error, which is perhaps the rarest and most valuable kind of mint mistake. And mule errors occur when two dies that were never intended to be paired together strike a coin, such as an obverse of a Lincoln cent paired with the reverse of a dime or even a foreign coin die. And while extremely rare, mule coins have been confirmed in the past, like the famous Sacagawea dollar struck with a Washington quarter obverse, which sells for hundreds of thousands of dollars. So imagine the discovery of a 2005 D penny mule error, perhaps struck with the obverse of a Lincoln cent but the reverse of a Roosevelt dime, or some other shocking pairing. Such a Coin would be essentially unique and could justifiably command a $2 million price, and beyond physical errors, there is also the intrigue of transitional errors, where the mint unintentionally strikes coins using the wrong metal composition, and in 1982 the penny shifted from 95% copper to a copper-plated zinc composition. But mistakes during transitional years have created some of the most valuable pennies ever, like the 1943 copper cent or the 1944 steel cent, both worth hundreds of thousands. So what if in 2005, a few Denver pennies were accidentally struck on leftover copper planchets rather than zinc ones, instantly creating a transitional rarity, and if such coins were confirmed, they could easily skyrocket to values in the millions, as wealthy collectors scramble to own an error type that harkens back to the great transitional mistakes of US mint history. And then there's the factor of condition, because even among error coins, condition matters, and coins graded by PCGS or NGC in mint state condition, especially MS67, MS68, or even higher, become treasures because their pristine state amplifies their rarity, and a one-of-a-kind error in superb gem mint state condition could absolutely break records. Now let's consider another angle, the role of collectors and the market, because no coin exists in isolation, and its value is not just determined by its errors but also by the demand, and with the rise of online auctions, social media, and global collectors connected through platforms like eBay and heritage auctions, the appetite for dramatic error coins has grown enormously, meaning that if a spectacular 2005 D penny with jaw-dropping errors surfaced, its story could go viral, igniting bidding wars that push its price into the millions, and history has shown this time and again, where coins that were once considered minor rarities suddenly skyrocketed in value once the spotlight hit them, and the 2005 D penny could very well follow this trajectory, fueled by both the passion of dedicated collectors and the curiosity of new investors drawn into numismatics by headlines of million-dollar coins. And we must not overlook the psychological appeal, because humans are drawn to the extraordinary, and a coin that is both familiar and yet so rare taps into that primal desire to own something no one else has, and in the case of the 2005 D penny, the idea that a simple copper-colored coin you might find in your change could be worth $2 million captures the imagination in a powerful way, inspiring people to dig through their jars of change, check their penny rolls from the bank, and search every cent that passes through their hands. And this treasure hunt mentality is part of what sustains the numismatic market, keeping values high for truly unique pieces. So when we combine all these factors, the minting errors themselves, the rarity, the condition, the collector demand, the market psychology, and the historical parallels to other great error coins, we see how the 2005 D penny has become a subject of fascination. And while most examples from that year are worth just a cent, or perhaps a few dollars if they are uncirculated, it is the rare, extraordinary error specimens that elevate the entire story, and as rumors swirl of one or two examples trading hands for seven figures, the legend only grows, and legends themselves fuel the market, because the possibility of owning a Holy Grail coin is what drives collectors to spend big. And if you really think about it, the 2005 D penny is not just about money.